let's wait a few minutes. Yeah, yeah, let's wait.
Nice to meet you virtually.
Nice to meet you too. What time is it there? Sorry, I didn't realize how early it is there.
I'm on the East Coast, so it's not bad. It's
oh, okay. Oh,
yeah.
okay. Not bad. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we also did invite some from the West Coast to present, and it was pretty early there.
Yeah.
For them, so yeah. So let's see.
Right. I wasn't sure how this interface was going to work.
Sorry, can you repeat?
I wasn't sure how this interface was going to work, but look, it's a pretty nice setup.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's nice.
Well, just let me know when you think we should get started.
Yeah. Let's wait few more minutes, and then we.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hello to the new person who just joined. We're giving folks a few minutes to get joined in, so we'll get started here shortly.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I muted my microphone because I'm living next to an air base, so there's F-16 flying out of my windows. So.
Here we call that the sound of freedom.
maybe we can start at this point.
Sure, great.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
So I think everyone has my screen. Thank you. My name is Wayne Dodgens, and I am based out of the United States. I'm based in North Carolina, but I travel quite a bit, so I may be in any place in the States at any time. But I do a lot of work to help the drone program, and I'm trying to build this program so that it has a lot more capabilities. And today I wanted to just talk to everyone about a few of our capabilities and highlight a few project examples of what we're doing with drones and how we might could be leveraged on your project. So let's go ahead and get into it. First, I want to talk a little bit about our drone initiative. We have about 60 pilots total, and they're spread out. We've got about 50 or so in the North America, and 5 in Asia Pacific area, and 3 or so in the UK that serve different parts of Europe. I'm not aware of any Italian drone pilots that we have, but that doesn't mean they're not out there just because I don't know about them. So that's one of my challenges, is to get a handle on exactly how many folks we have. So this technology, as you all know, can be used for a lot of different things. It's a really quite a broad tool that can be applied in just so many different ways, and we're still discovering new ways all the time. So, this, unfortunately, I have to be in this windowed environment, but there's some nice animations in this slide deck that I guess we won't see because I'm scared my screen resolution won't be compatible with everyone. But one of the things that with the COVID that we're finding is really helpful is the ability to do remote site visits. And so we have the capabilities to visualize the data and make 3D visualizations. Let's see, I've got some animations in this that I'd like to show. So let's see if we can get this to. Can you let me know, does that work for y'all's screen, or is that a bad resolution?
Yeah, it works, but yes, of course, it's a little bit slow. I don't know if it's slow, but yeah, I can see it.
And you can read the text still? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. So this in the top picture here is an animation that kind of shows some of the 3D visualization work that we can do. And this here as well. So this is all fabricated in 3D environments, and then allows you to see kind of what the proposed product will look like in the real environment. So I believe in this example that's shown right now, there's this facade that they're showing, and then that building that you see in the distance there is a real building. And so you get an idea of what the view is from up on this proposed balcony. But that was done by flying a drone to this elevation and taking the real life picture and then superimposing the 3D environment on top of the drone imagery. So a really neat application there. And then a new kind of emerging technology that's really been great for the COVID situation is the ability to take a drone out and fly it at an area. And that's kind of what is being shown on the left of this graphic. And so the pilot is streaming out to the internet to all the other users, your remote project stakeholders who are back in the office, and they're able to see exactly what that drone pilot is seeing live. And so if you have someone else there, able to communicate with that drone pilot, you're able to say, okay, we'll fly closer to this corner of that building so I can see this roof thing, or, go over and fly and show me underneath, if you can, what it looks like. And so it's a really nice tool, and being able to not have to send these stakeholders to the site in this time of low travel. And you only have to send the one person out, and then you can have, unlimited numbers, in theory, unlimited folks, viewing what that drone operator is seeing. So it's really a nice collaboration tool, and it really helps get people kind of quote unquote on the site without actually having to go to the site. It's a really nice tool. So we're using drones in process management, and there's a lot of analytical tools that are helping us do that. Drone Deploy is one of our softwares that we use that provides a cloud-based platform, and it's in a secure environment, and we fly the drone and collect the imagery and the video, and we're able to upload it to this cloud environment so that anyone can assess it from anywhere. So we don't have to be all in the same office. We don't have to be co-located. Everybody can get access to that imagery and that analysis right away as soon as it gets uploaded and processed. So one of the real keys here is that these processing times are turned around now in a matter of hours, and a day if there's a lot, versus weeks possibly if it's a traditional survey. And we'll talk about that more a little bit later here. And another one of our tools has a lot of the capabilities that are focused more on kind of earthworks type of stuff. But there are other applications in the remediation space, I think, that we haven't explored yet. So, I think we're going to go through a couple of examples here where we're looking at landfills and things like that. And we're talking about densities and cross sections. So I'll go through a couple of examples here. In this example here, we have this yellow solid line that represents the terrain as it is now. And then we have the dotted line that kind of rises above that in elevation. And that's a visualization of the maximum height that this landfill is permitted to. And so we can then calculate that volume that's in that headspace, so to speak, of how much more room they have to grow or to go before they run into their permit issues. And so we can go out and calculate these types of things in a matter of hours versus sending out a survey crew, which may take a couple of days. So this is an example of a volume comparison where the red is where we've gone too high and the blue is where we have gone too low. And you can change these colors, of course. So that, it's kind of an analysis on what needs to be cut and what needs to be filled still. And this is GIF. I know it's really fast, so it's not the best GIF, but it shows the ability to take imagery and overlay your plan. So we can overlay the CAD line work onto the imagery that we take. We can overlay ArcGIS shapefiles and those types of data over the imagery that we go out and collect. And so it's a great way to be able to field verify what is happening. Is it happening to design spec? Is it happening in the right timelines? It's a great tool for being able to confirm is things happening on the ground like you expect. And then this GIF here is showing how the project has progressed over time. And so by flying this site multiple times over a period of time, this looks like it's going from November 2019 to February 28th, 2020, over 6 different flights. You get a nice kind of progression of the site. You can see how it goes from kind of barren land to a build-up environment. And so we have these tools available to show and share with other folks. Project examples. I'll go through a few project examples here. I pulled out a few that I think would be hopefully relevant to this crowd. We did a site where we needed to delineate wetlands. And so this slide kind of highlights how we saved a lot of time basically over a traditional survey. Traditionally, they would send out 2 people for 4 weeks to be out in the field for 2 weeks. And then, it would take them another half a week to turn the maps around. And then they would do another week of field verification. And they would just be based on, their surveying out in the field. With the drone and the UAS, we're able to send 2 people out there for a week, and they are able to fly it in 2 days. They run it back in the office for 2 days, and then they still have 1 day of field verification. But they're able to turn the entire product around in 1 week versus the 4 weeks total time. And this is for a 600-acre site. And the flying part of it was only 12 hours total in the air for 600 acres. So they were able to then take that imagery back to the office, and based on what they could see with this resolution that measures in just centimeters, able to delineate these wetlands with good precision. They were real happy with the results on this project. We also use drones for site investigations. Excuse me. This is an investigation where they have some obvious erosion. The cliff sides are eroding into the sea. You can see we have some infrastructure that's near there they're concerned about. And so this was a 30-acre site. We had 1 day access to this site to basically get in there and show them exactly what we could show them. And so we turned this around real quick. It turned out really well. They were super happy with all this because they weren't able to see from the roadside how these cliffs are eroding in and under. They had some idea from overhead shots, but they hadn't been able to get out and look out from the sea and look in towards the land with good precision and accuracy to get measurements. You see this blue line here. This is a measurement that we're able to take of this cliff face. That's a 90-foot cliff face. So what is that? Maybe 30 meters. It's a pretty good drop. And so we were able to visualize that. And in this top right, this top left picture, you can see there's the cutout with the blue line, but there's also to the left of that a little hole there. And that hole goes all the way down to the bottom. They were concerned or curious, I guess you might say, of how that was eroding inside of there, and is it connected over to the main erosion area. And with the drone, we were able to fly down in there. We had a guy out on a bucket truck lift. He was out over the cliffside and he was able to watch the drone all the way down to the bottom so that it could get imagery inside of those little cliffs and really visualize for the client what that erosion was doing, give them a better understanding to the engineers who were studying the site of what is really happening at the time. So this was a really good project. We just did this one. And due to limitations of the site with the operations at the site and the airspace operations, we only had 1 day to get in there and survey this 30-acre site that was a long linear site. So we had a busy day. Our pilot took care of it. He did an awesome job. He collected still photos that we turned into the orthomosaics and 3D models. He took video that were able to be sent back to the client that they really loved because it was like being there in their mind. We took panoramas, so he was able to fly down inside of this small cove here and take a panorama so that he had really high detailed imagery of the entire site there. So really good site investigation tool. I know this slide's a little bit busy, but this is another landfill permitting survey that we did, and this was kind of a test of how the drone imagery would compare to a traditional survey. So we had a traditional survey out there. All these little yellow flags you can see are the survey points that they took as part of their traditional survey. So they took a bunch of different points to get an idea of what the hill was like, this landfill. And we took the drone out and we were able to fly the entire site. And the thing that we were able to demonstrate with the drone is that we can model the entire area, not only those areas that are surveyed in. So the surveyors hit the corners and kind of went up and down the slope, and then they interpolate right in between where they have taken their points. And basically it's their mathematical model of what the slope is and the hillside. Versus what we're doing is we're able to take imagery of the entire area and show much more detail and fill in all those areas where the surveyors didn't go. And so we gave, not only did we have a quicker turnaround time, so we saved money there, we actually covered more of the area in more detail. This is kind of another example where we did kind of a study on a pond drainage area. We were able to go in there and map out the area of question and take a look at the elevation changes and look at the changes over time, kind of versus the design. And so if you look at the graph on the bottom right, the yellow line is what we surveyed in with the drone. The purple line is, maybe one design criteria, and the green line is maybe another different design criteria. And we're, excuse me, able to look at the differences and do some analysis on if the pond is flowing properly. And then use this also for shoreline stabilization efforts. This is just a quick example of a site map that we're able to generate. So a nice updated ortho. A lot of times when you're getting ready to start a project, you don't have current imagery, or you're used to using the Google imagery and it's out of date or it's of poor quality for the particular site you're looking at. So we can go out and fly your site and update general maps that are really useful for your planning and all. Provide those 3D measurements and metrics that you can use for your project. Excuse me. So here's another example of some volumetric analysis. Again, the yellow line is what the drone actually flew. The bottom line that kind of goes down and has a flat bottom and back up to the other side, that's the design for this particular dirt cell. This is a storage pond basically for waste products. And so the liner for this is that bottom line. The survey had gone at the beginning of the project and shown that's in that upper dashed line of where they started. And again, that was a case where the survey was going out there and traipsing across this environment, which in this particular case, in a lot of cases, isn't the safest environment for people to be in to get these measurements of volume. And so we're able to just fly the drone over that and calculate these volumes with high accuracy relative to the scene, and give an idea to the planners of how much material exists in there, how much material they can still store in there, things like that. This is another example where we're wanting to be proactive in our safety. So putting the drone out into the water here and getting measurements along this slope with using the drone is a lot safer than trying to put a survey crew out there to measure this unstable slope. This slope is eroding frequently and dangerously. So using the drone technology, we're able to fly it and produce 3D models that allow them to get the same types of measurements in a much safer manner. So to talk about kind of the future of where this is going and things we see changing, inspections is a big area where we're going to be seeing a lot more growth, and there's some new technologies that are coming out. This particular drone that in this bottom left GIF, it's probably a little choppy for you guys because it's just but what's happening here is the drone is actually flying under this pier, and because of the sensors that are on it, it's able to fly within about 2 feet, which is what, maybe half a meter, to fly within about a half a meter of this pier and get really high resolution imagery because it's so close. And so this allowed for great visibility to the inspectors without having to get under there either on a boat or a lift that goes around to the underside. We were able to go out there and fly this particular pier and produce this 3D model for them. And then the users are able to scroll around and kind of zoom in and out and see the detail as they go, as they want to, back at their desk. So this is kind of a nice little high-tech deal that exists. We're just waiting on the regulations to catch up to allow us to actually make use of this. It's basically the drone in a box concept. And it, the idea would be that every site, whether it's construction or remediation or anything that we're wanting to keep on tab on, the box sits there on site. The drone is autonomous. It goes out and flies a set pattern, whether it's daily or weekly or monthly, however often, because there's no pilot needed. We're just, the technology is ready for this. The regulatory compliance just needs to catch up, and we'll be there. Other technology that we're looking forward to is the rollout of the 5G networks. They're going to allow us to hopefully fly beyond visual line of sight. So right now you have to have a pilot that can keep their eyes on the drone at all times, in the US at least. And so we're hoping that will change with the regulatory has to catch up, and the technology with the 5G is hopefully going to allow us to do that. So lots of exciting things coming up. And then this is just a quick video a coworker put together that shows some of the 3D animation work that we've done. Okay, so hopefully that came through. A lot of what you're seeing in that video, though, is drone imagery and 3D modeling overlaid over it. So a lot of those things where the roadways kind of appear out of nowhere, that was that type of work. So I think we had slated for 30 minutes. We're kind of right there with that. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover.
Thank you, Wayne. I have a couple of questions. One is if we would like to improve these technologies, for example, here in Europe, do we own those drones, or you sub to pilots? So that there's some requirement that the drones must have in order to conduct certain activities, certain surveys, or are the drones owned by Jacobs?
Right. So to answer your questions, this, of course, is with the United States lens because that's where I'm most familiar. But I believe this is going to be true in most countries, but do your own local research, of course. In order to operate commercially, you have to go through a separate verification process, and you have to meet the requirements of your civil aviation authority, right? So we have our pilots in the U.S. that have done that. And then to answer your question about owning the drones, yes, in the United States, we own several drones, and we have those fully insured under our policy, and we have the ability and capabilities for a lot of these things with our own drones. So like that inspection drone that allows it to get really close to underneath that bridge, we own that drone. The drone that was used for that cliffside erosion, that was our own drone as well. So a lot of these are drones that we own and have the capabilities to do a lot of this work ourselves. Then the second part of your question, can we contract that out? And the answer is yes, we can, and we do, especially if there's a capability that we don't have. So I know in one project we contracted out to a drone with a LiDAR unit, and so we just had another company come out and do that for us because of the expense involved with that, and we didn't have enough work to justify the cost of purchasing it ourselves. So
yeah, because was thinking about Europe or Italy. If we subcontract to a, of course, if it regulatory approved by the local regulation, but if we sub to a local pilot, are there any, requirements that the drone must have? And also for the tools that you have showed, I think that once we have the recording, we can contact you to process the data, come up with all those output, or is something that the pilot? No, of course you can do it. But I think that he must have some direction on how to record the survey, or how.
Right. So there are best practices for sure. And so you would want to make sure that if you subcontract it out, that you speak with them to make sure that they know what those are, and they will follow them, and that they have their own insurance that they cover. And there's a lot to that for sure, and we'll be glad to help you navigate all of that.